mean, it's pretty shocking. Remember what happened. The constitutional amendments during and after the Civil War were supposed to free African-American slaves. It did something for about 10 years. And then there was a North-South Compact, which essentially granted former slave-owning states the right to do whatever they wanted. And what they did was criminalize black life in all kinds of ways. And that created kind of a slave force. It threw mostly black males, but also women, into jail, where they become a perfect labor force, much better than slaves. If you're a slave owner, you have to keep your capital alive. If the state does it for you, it's terrific. No strikes, no disobedience, a perfect labor force. A lot of the American Industrial Revolution in the late 19th, early 20th century is based on that. Actually, it pretty much lasted until the Second World War, when there was a need for what's called free labor in the war industry. After that come about two decades in which African Americans had a kind of a shot during the society. A black worker get a job in an auto plant. The unions were still functioning. Maybe buy a small house, send a kid to college or something. By the 1970s or 80s, it's going back to criminalization of black life. It's called the drug war, which is a racist war. Ronald Reagan was an extreme racist, denied it. And the whole drug war is designed from policing up to eventual release from prison to make it impossible for the black male community and more the women and more Hispanics to be part of the society. In fact, if you look at American history, the first slaves came in 1619, and that's half a millennium. There have been about 3 or 4 decades in which African Americans had a limited degree of freedom. It's not entirely, but at least some. Now, of course, for black elites, there's some privileges, but I'm talking about the mass of the population, which has been recriminalized and incidentally also turned into a slave labor force. This is a very racist society. I mean, it's pretty shocking. Remember what happened. The constitutional amendments during and
Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. This is your Akim Adriel back with another quick lesson. And you could tell by the opening clip, and this is an Edomite, man, pretty much. And it's titled what? Confessions of a Sinner, man. And we already know who's the son of petition, man. Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man. He is that sinner, man. And they're pretty much they're confessing the atrocities, man, they are doing and still perpetuating to this day, man. And what this Edomite said, he said out of the time these so-called Negroes were free after the so-called Civil War, they gave the southern states or the Confederate states a leeway to do whatever they want. So they passed these laws, black codes, you know what I'm saying? Segregation, Jim Crow era, all that stuff to further do what? Deprive the so-called Negro and Latino and Native Americans of their what is perceived to be rights, man. According to this policy that he or this constitution that they enacted, and yet he's still saying what? And that didn't go away. After that, they after these so-called, signs, these segregation signs were taken down, they developed another plan. They brought in the drug epidemic, which he said that was a racist agenda to target the so-called black population, man. He said Ronald Reagan initiated it. He was a big so-called racist, man, So he was anti, But, he's professing himself that this institution in itself is a so-called racist institution, man. What we know is proud. The reason why I say so-called racist because, technically, man, there's nothing wrong to be pro-race for your race, but they're prejudiced. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much they're saying I can do things and you can't. That's being prejudiced. So there's nothing wrong with being pro-race for your race. There's nothing wrong with that. We realize that. But being, prejudiced, unfair, now that's a whole nother ball game. And that's what this devil is being proof is in the pudding. That's what he's been doing. And he said, what, out of the short years of the so-called, Negroes being free from the Civil War, exactly. He said they've been given, he said, roughly maybe 4 decades to have some sort of progress, man. He said unlimited. He was like some sort. So he was giving, after all this, he said from 1619, he said it's all, up until now. Out of that time, you only been given like 40 years, man, to try to have some sort of a progress, And he was talking about the masses. He said, yeah, there's an exception, which these bootleg, kiss-ass, bootlicking ass niggas, man. You see them all in Congress and these corporations, these politicians, these entertainers, except for them, they have certain, privileges that the masses of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans don't have. But with that exception, the masses, there's little progress. That's pretty much what this guy was this Edomite was confessing the sins of Babylon the Great, aka America. That's why this place is going to be destroyed, man. Because what? Because of his iniquities, man. There's sin upon sin upon sin. And I'm going to go to the book of Ecclesiastes 12 and 10. It says, never trust thy enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and be selected. Yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away, man. So this same devil, man, he go smiling in your face, humble, trying to act like he's some trustworthy guy. He still had those intentions, man. And I just seen another, I meant to add it with this, but I just seen some another clip stating that during 1944, there was these French, so-called black French soldiers, man. They went off to the war and fought vehemently for the French, And when they came back to France, they was looking for what? Their pay and things of that nature, man. But this was in 1944. And what did they do? They said they end up unaliving all those so-called black soldiers after they went and fought for France, man. So that's how these devils work, man. They don't care. They're going to use you, get what they need out of you, and then they're going to pretty much show their horns, man, show their true nature, man. That's the nature of these devils, man. You can't trust them, man. I meant to add that clip to this, man, but this happened in 1944 with it was a battalion of so-called black soldiers. They went to fight for the French. They fought vehemently, if I'm saying it right. And when they came home, they were seeking their pay, man. Like, now we went, did our job, can we get paid? Other than being greeted with, congratulations, stuff like that. Nah, man, they were surrounded by their fellow troops, the so-called, the French, the pale Frenchmen, the Edomites, and they slaughtered them, man. Because they just wanted what? Their pay, man, for fighting in the war, man. But see, these people over here, especially these Negroes, man, they're going to learn the hard way. See, that's what they do now. They trust in this devil, because that's what this devil's, one of his methods too. And like I said, these niggas, they're naive. They haven't, they might have heard of it, but they don't comprehend this Willie Lynch letter. And that's what they use these niggas, which I don't give a fuck about these 2/3 niggas. Excuse my rant, but that's how it is. That's how I feel at this point. I don't care about these 2/3 niggas anyway, but in general, that's what this devil does. He wants to create or maintain a division amongst these so-called Negroes, man. That's mentioned in the Willie Lynch letter, man. That's how these devils maintain control by what? Getting in the ideas of these other simple ass niggas to be envious of each other, man. You know what I'm saying? But that's how these niggas act, because these damn crackers show favoritism to certain people. That's why I say you get these boule motherfuckers and, you know, these entertainers and politicians that they show favor to, kiss ass. You know, that's how they do. They how they can maintain power is creating confusion in division amongst who the people that they're trying to conquer, man. And these niggas, man, they are willing to participate. That's why I don't give a fuck about them, man. But Salakia, let's go to another book. Let's go to the book of Salakia for that rant. The book of Baruch, chapter 3. Verse 8, it says, "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity." That's what it is, man. We are yet this day we are yet this day in our captivity, man. This is the land of our captivity right here, man. And these people don't believe that, man. They want to think because, you know, they can walk around, they don't have no shackles, restraints. They feel like they free. They can do whatever, man. But that's, you know, that's them not being what? Circumspect, watching what's really around you and being aware of these devils, man. Like the book of Ecclesiasticus 12:10, man. Wipe it, you know, it's like an hourglass you wipe, but you're gonna see his rust is not all the way white, man. You know, because this devil ain't gonna change. He just change up methods, like this Edomite mentioned in the beginning. You know, after this Jim Crow era segregation, these signs been taken down. What other method? He said they went to what? The drug epidemic. You know, it's the DARE. I remember that when I was young, coming up the DARE campaign and stuff like that. That was a attempt. That was an attack on the so-called black populace, man, and that Latino and Native American, man, but mainly the black. That was an attack on you, man. And then what we're living now is the new Jim Crow, man. There's a book out there that pretty much profess that. That's how they're using different tactics to continue to what? Have you so-called Negroes in captivity, feel their industrial prison facilities, man. And that's what this devil is always planning to do, man, is to what? Oppress. That's just in his DNA, man. This dude, these people, I'm gonna put it like that, have a perpetual hatred for the children of Israel, man. So they're gonna find ways to continue to oppress. And that's what they're doing, man. And I'm gonna say this again, and then I'm gonna close this out. This is the book of Baruch, chapter 3, verse 8. It says, "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity," man. So we are still in this day in the land of our captivity, man. And then I'm gonna end it off there, man. I hope the body was edified. Till next time, I'm gonna give all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. Again, this is your argument, Julazil, Lord willing. I'll be back with another lesson. Till next time, Shalom, Barakatah, and Baba Shalom.